Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Nick Goodman. I'm a solutions architect with Sanity Solutions. And with me, I have Brandon Halty from Dell Technologies, who'll be sharing this presentation here. I do want to make a note, we are going to be recording this meeting, so we can follow anybody if they need to share it with any colleagues. If you do have any questions during the meeting, please use the chat and share that, and we'll be sure to address those questions. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Brandon, would you like to make a quick introduction there?
Absolutely. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, I'm Brandon Halty. I work with Dell Technologies. I'm part of the product launch team for the PowerStore products. So, as a follow-up from this meeting, if we need to go a little deeper into some of the technologies and capabilities, I'm more than happy to help the Sanity team, great partner of ours here, hosting this event.
Great, thank you. All right, make sure everybody can see my screen. Do you see the About Sanity logo there, or About Sanity slide?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of who Sanity is. So Sanity Solutions, we were established in 2004, specializing in basically the data center and solution provider, meeting your services for all of your IT and all of your data management needs. Our goal is to personalize. Every customer has different needs, so our goal is to be strategic and provide, every solution for every customer that meets their needs there. And we want this to be a true partnership on how we handle things. We're not here to be order takers. We're here to help your organization grow and thrive from a data side of things. Oops, let's see. So our core solutions, we focused on the data center, but now from a Sanity perspective, we can meet all of your IT needs from the data center, from data protection, from wireless, from your clients, from modernization, all the way out to multi-cloud type solutions. We're here to help you transform your ecosystem. And the values that we provide on top of the partnership that we provide is our in-house services team. The Sanity RX team is super strong, and we can provide all kinds of resources from, again, just data transformation to modernization. Anything that you guys need, the Sanity RX can provide, provide those type of services. We have flexible ways to consume products from a financing perspective, or just how you want to purchase your products, and we can bundle things to suit your business. We have dedicated account and engineering teams from a customer focus, and we have a wide variety of access to different vendors and services and resources, and of course our prices are going to be competitive. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brandon for now to start the introduction to PowerStore.
Sure, thanks, Nick. So very excited today to actually talk about our latest innovation from Dell Technologies, called the PowerStore. This is really our flagship mid-range product. So a lot of the technologies and a lot of the concepts we're pulling down from our enterprise solutions down into the mid-range. So it's a very exciting time for us. Nick, if you want to go to the next slide real quick. One of the things that, as we were developing this product, the pieces that we looked at was really about the data and kind of the operations of an environment. And that's really where we've taken a very specific view about how we built this product. So if you click next again, when you start thinking about storage infrastructure and how it relates into your environment, what we've focused on for the last 20 years has really kind of been on moving data from these silos and standalone servers into arrays. And what that really has driven is a lot of data value for our customers, and a lot of efficiencies, things like deduplication and compression, allowing you to be more agile with your environment. That also then, we talk about snapshots and replication, really about protecting the data and time to value. So if you click the next slide, Nick, what we really see is this, convergence of the operations teams or your IT administrators really having to do more, with a lot more data. So we talk about, zettabytes of data over, the next coming years about how we're going to manage this. And so we see a really strong need for things like automation, being able to have your infrastructure be more as like infrastructure as a service, right? That's where cloud capabilities have really kind of taken off, things like that. And so when we look at it from that perspective, from the data and then from the operations of it every day, we need things like an intelligent platform in order for us to move forward, being able to do more with less, so to speak. So if you click next, what we really then is we really need a new architecture. And what does that look like? What does that mean? And so that's really the foundation of what the PowerStore appliance is. You're going to hear some different terms. So I'm just going to set this up a little bit. We don't talk about a storage array. It's now an appliance, and it has nodes versus controllers. And there's reasons that we talk about it that way. And Nick is going to actually kind of get into the tenets of what that actually means. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Nick to walk through some of this stuff. If you have questions, please hit us up in chat, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. So Nick, back to you.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so like Brandon mentioned, we have the three tenets of the PowerStore. We're talking about data-centric, intelligence, and adaptability. Data-centric design optimizes the performance, scalability, and storage efficiency to support any workload without compromise. The intelligence, the automation through programmable autonomous infrastructure simplifies management and optimizes your system resources, all the while enabling proactive health to easily monitor, analyze, and troubleshoot your environment. And the adaptability, the architecture, like he mentioned, enables speed and application mobility, flexible deployment and choice, predictability, and investment protection through the flexible options that make this solution so great. So let's just kind of take a look at each one of these, and we'll start with data-centric here. Get the slide to build there. So about the data-centric, this is the PowerStore is architected to eliminate any trade-offs in performance. We're looking to be able to handle any workload. So this modernize this and extend the life cycles to allow us to, whether it's physical, whether it's virtual, whether it's databases, containers, all file. It's designed for performance optimization through end-to-end NVMe, and we can scale up, we can scale out whenever the demands increase. And we are enabling efficiency through always inline data reduction. So you're getting data reduction with hardware assist. So let me build this slide out here. So we have a wide variety of workloads, from traditional and modern, from databases to ERP solutions, EMR, cloud native applications, file-based workloads, content repositories, home directories, etc. Each of these workloads, connect to the infrastructure using different types of protocols. And PowerStore has a single architecture that will support all of these architectures for block, for file, for vVols, all utilizing the latest technology to provide the storage in multiple formats, from physical to virtual, to containers, to traditional files, for the ultimate flexibility to simplify and consolidate your infrastructure. So the PowerStore is designed from the ground up. This is a whole new array from Dell Technologies here, and it's built to utilize all of the latest in storage and interface technologies. So everything is, as Brandon had mentioned, we're not talking controllers. Now we're talking about appliances with nodes. So each PowerStore appliance is a 2-node solution, and it is all NVMe. So we're taking advantage of very, very low latency with solid state, huge device bandwidth, And again, taking advantage of that from the beginning, and also adding in Intel's Optane storage class memory to get you basically the performance of disk at the speed of, excuse me, the capacity of disk at the speed of DRAM.
Yeah, Nick, and if I can just add one thing real quick, you know, when we talk about like design for reliability, one of the things that differs in this type of, when we talk about NVMe and SCM type of storage, the other part of this is that we're using dual ported drives. So that's where we start getting those enterprise features pulled down into the mid-range products. So, you know, both nodes, you're not using storage loops. What you're doing is you're actually dual porting the drives to each one of the nodes.
Yeah, that's great. That's important, especially from an active, highly available solution, right? With that dual port NVMe, you're not having to do any kind of weird multipathing or anything. If you have an HA event, those drives are already attached to the second node, so it's a seamless operation from a failover perspective. So one of the beauties of the solution, the PowerStore, is it's a scale up and a scale out solution. So you can start with a single appliance with 2 nodes. So if you need to expand capacity, you can simply add shelves up to 2.8 petabytes per appliance. And if you need to scale out from a compute perspective, then you can simply add additional active nodes for a total of 4 appliances in a cluster. And those can be mixed for different performance needs to allow you to meet the workloads that you may have one that needs a database, and you may have this file, and different ways to scale it out and scale it up depending on the workload's needs. And it's all managed by a single cluster. And with the intelligent resource balancing, the system will help decide on where that data needs to live. So I mentioned always on inline data reduction. So this is going to give you intelligent deduplication and compression. And with the Dell Technologies future-proof guarantee, they're guaranteeing a 4-to-1 data reduction without compromising performance. This is a hardware-assisted reduction using some of the Intel Quick Assist technology.
Yeah, we're also leveraging a Lewisburg compression chip that sits in the data path, and that's why we can actually guarantee, you know, a better data reduction rate as well.
So going back to the PowerStore, is architected for high availability. It's non-disruptive upgrades, active data paths with that dual ported NVMe, ease of data and application migrations. The capacity expansions are simple to do, whether it's adding drives to a node or adding additional expansion shelves. All of this is done non-disruptively. Same thing from a hardware and software upgrades. This is a container-based OS, so doing the upgrades are simple, and with a container-based type of solution with microservices, it's easy to add features and upgrade without a big monolithic change. So, and code upgrades are done on a kind of like a rolling and coordinated manner, so that the data path is always active on one controller to keep a 100% non-disruptive changes there. And again, the resiliency with the dual ported NVMe's, when you have a failover event, those NVMe's are already attached to both nodes, so you're going to have a seamless failover with a highly available solution. Very fast rebuilds with the sparing, because the sparing is doing a distributed sparing, so there's not a single drive that's sitting idle waiting to take on that data. The spares, it's spared across all the drives, so the rebuilds are very, very fast in the event of some sort of failure. In protection, we have dynamic RAID to handle failures. Again, when it comes to spare capacity, the RAID is rebuilt very quickly. Native replication is available from asynchronous for block. You can do local protection with manual and scheduled snapshots. And then there's integration with all of the Dell EMC data protection solutions. You have Networker, Power Protect, Avamar, vPlex can do Metro synchronous replication with virtually zero RTO and RPOs for instant failover. So let's talk about the intelligence automation inside PowerStore here. The drive is to automate and operational efficiency across the environment. It's tough organizations, right, to free up the resources, and there's no, like Brandon mentioned, is doing more with less, right? So there's always more things that need to be done, and there's never enough time to do it all. So PowerStore will help you with some of this autonomy here. Will built-in machine learning to automate and discover and optimize system resources. The proactive analytics, right, to make sure that that before you know it, the system is either fixing things or alerting support and making sure that you can reduce your risk and predict future needs. So it's the autonomous appliance, right? The goal here is to spend less time managing the appliance. Let you spin up workloads on the appliance and let the system figure out where this needs to reside, what this volume is on node 1 or node 2, or as you scale up or scale out, the system will automatically put those resources in the best spot. It takes time, gives you time back on your day to not have to worry about this stuff. Let the system handle everything. And of course, we have the machine learning. This is what does everything. It figures out where the data needs to live based upon utilization and volumes, and if there's a hotspot on one node, it'll migrate that data to where it needs to go. And then as you expand up, it will continuously optimize and move things around. And CloudIQ, I wanted to mention CloudIQ, and this is not just unique to the PowerStore. CloudIQ functions with all of the Dell storage portfolio. So whether you already have SC in place or Unity or a PowerStore, this will help you identify issues, helps with troubleshooting. It will help you plan ahead, and it will look at if you have maybe volumes that are filling up, or if there's some issues with certain arrays. It'll identify those for you and give you a single pane of glass to view all of your Dell Technologies storage arrays inside of the CloudIQ. And additionally, with CloudIQ, you can allow somebody like Sanity to be your trusted advisor, and we give us insight into all your arrays. So whether you're having an issue and you say, hey, Nick, I'm looking at this array here. Can you help me figure out if I need to do something here? Or it could be proactive on our site. We say, hey, we got an alert from CloudIQ that says these volumes or this array is having some performance issues or array. So we can either help you, figure out what's happening there, or it might be as simple as, well, you need to add capacity, and we can help, figure out what the next step is for there. Brandon, CloudIQ, I believe that includes Isilon too, and is that correct?
It is, yeah. That got launched a couple months ago. So, yep.
Okay. So yeah, CloudIQ is really powerful from not just the storage arrays. You can also add a VMware connector in there as well, so we can get insight into what's happening on your VMware environment. So definitely something we can follow up if there's questions around that too.
Yeah, if you have SAM switches as well, or like Brocade or whatever, or Cisco, we can monitor those too.
Excellent. So let's talk about the last tenet here, adaptability. So like we mentioned several times here, the flexible architecture takes the adaptability to the next level. We're integrating the new container-based architecture, integrating with VMware's hypervisor, enabling to actually host some user application data directly on the appliance. This offers you a flexible deployment model, whether you need just standard block storage, unified storage. If you need to, you can actually run applications directly on the PowerStore array to get that data as close as possible to the data path. And again, to focus on the container-based software architecture here, right? This modular design allows for faster innovation. Instead of having to build the entire stack at once for upgrades, this allows to build and upgrade individual pieces at a quicker pace, with that more agile type of development. And this allows, some cross-platform solutions, including AppSync, SRM, and the Dell Data Protection Suite, all can be integrated directly into the PowerStore OS. So that allows you to integrate key management functions and just makes future deployments easier. So the PowerStore OS, the standard deployment is you basically run PowerStore OS on the actual array, and you're providing unified capacity, whether it's file, whether it's block, to your external host, right? And with PowerStore X, you can actually deploy the VMware hypervisor on board the array to allow, again, like I mentioned, workloads to run locally on the array to get that data path as close as possible. And this is the functionality I'm referring to is called Appson, which allows you to run your applications and virtual machines directly on the appliance.
Yeah, Nick, if I can interject on that slide real quick, you don't have to.
Yeah. Oh, please go ahead.
One thing that, when we talk about running ESX on our storage appliance is, it's not to replace things like hyper-converged infrastructure or your traditional three-tier architecture. It's a very specific kind of use case that Nick's going to get into now, but we do have that flexibility and functionality that we can either run it as what we call PowerStore T, which is just your standard deployment, or PowerStore X, which has the ESX kind of embedded into the appliance. There are some caveats in how that works. If that's something of interest, we can follow up in more detail about what that actually looks like.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, and as Brandon mentioned here, so with running PowerStore with Appson, that gives you the seamless application mobility with VCF, which is VMware's cloud foundation. So that would basically allows you to have workloads migrating from on-prem out to VMware Cloud on AWS. And additionally, build this slide out here. You have the ability to do data replication from the PowerStore with Appson out to the Dell Technologies cloud storage services, which is a hosted solution that allows you to have that. Basically, it's a remote PowerStore that's managed by Dell that you can have for your async or synchronous replication, depending on where you're located, and of course bandwidth and latency come into play there. So the nice thing about the architecture here, again, it's adaptable and anytime upgrades. There's no need to migrate from array to array as you scale up and scale out and come out with new models. It's simple to put the new model in and pull the old one out, or continue with various models in your cluster, scaling out, scaling up, flexible options on how you do this, and the ability to do this anytime during your contract. So we'll kind of get into this a little bit here. So initially, you're going to deploy your appliance and consolidate applications and data onto the new environment to meet your needs, right? And then we can go further and provide data and place upgrades. We can do infrastructure that does not need to be forklifted. We can, again, scale it up, we can scale it out, and expand as necessary. And then as we adapt, as new models come out, it's as simple to add the nodes to that cluster and remove the old nodes, and you have a zero impact there. So the anytime upgrade program, Brandon, I might need your help a little on this here, but basically this, when you purchase the PowerStore appliances, there is an anytime upgrade program that allows you to upgrade to the next model within that family, like upgrading, say there's a PowerStore 1000 and upgrading to say a PowerStore 3000. You can upgrade your existing appliance from the current gen to the next gen. And again,
if you just want to build this slide out, I think we'll actually kind of talk about a little bit. So when you purchase the PowerStore and you purchase Pro Support Plus, you get a Gen 1 to Gen 2 upgrade at no additional cost. And so, if it's 36 months of maintenance, let's say we release Gen 1 today, 18 months from now we release Gen 2, you're able to get that upgrade at no additional cost from what you've already paid. The next option, and this is options 2 and 3 actually are additional fees, but what it does is if you start with say a 1000, then with the option to go to a higher model will take you from a 1000 to a 3000 with option 2. And that, again, anytime in the contract, you don't have to renew maintenance or anything else. That's just an option that's available. The last option would be if you start with, say, a 3000, you're like, I'm out of capacity, or I need more capacity or more CPU and memory, then we can add the scale out piece, which will add a second appliance into the environment. Again, anytime in the contract, and you don't have to renew your maintenance in order to take advantage of this program. So, where it's a little bit different than some of the other upgrade programs out there in the market. So, it's pretty exciting, actually. I really appreciate that we're doing a Gen 1 or a next generation upgrade as part of the Pro Support Plus program. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I guess I should check and see if there's any questions in the chat here. Let's see. Okay, looks like we're good. All right. Okay, so let's talk about migration here. So there's native tools included with PowerStore to allow you to migrate from the various Dell portfolio, from XtremIO, Unity, SC, VNX, PS. There's ways to migrate your data from those individual arrays, whether it's using the tools from array to array, of course. Then you have ways to do it with VMware, with vMotion, and/or Linux. But there's vPlex, there's PowerPath. There's lots of different ways to do non-disruptive upgrades from block storage from the various Dell portfolio into the PowerStore. And this is, again, one of the tenets to reducing time to value and giving value to the customer to deploy these new platforms. Make your life easier. And we mentioned this earlier, the future-proof guarantee, the 4-to-1 data reduction guarantee, of course, based on workloads, anytime upgrades, and then flexible solutions from a consumption model, whether it's a monthly consumption or lease or whatever the case may be. There's lots of different ways to make this easy purchase for you. And let's just kind of summarize again what we talked about, the data-centric design of the PowerStore, designed for any workload, the scalability and efficiency to support any workload without compromise. The intelligent automation is a big piece of this, right? Simplified management for your environment, optimized resources, proactive health. Make your life easier so you're not having to sit there and babysit an array. It's going to handle all of that for you. And the adaptable architecture from application mobility to the flexible deployment models, easy to scale up, scale out, payment solutions, and ease of in-place upgrades. And here's just a quick overview of what the PowerStore family looks like. Essentially, what you're getting as you go from the PowerStore 1000 up to the PowerStore 9000 is you're getting significantly more CPU and memory. The capacity ability inside of a cluster essentially remains the same. It's just that ability to really scale up that performance there. And it is all NVMe, as we mentioned, with storage class memory as available. And then we have 25, 10, and 1 gig. And of course, we have a 32, 16, and 8 gig fiber channel as well.
Yeah, and Nick, one of the things that I want to just point out is if you look at like the CPU memory and capacity, you'll notice that the CPU and memory is per appliance, and then the capacity is for the cluster. So when you look at like a 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, 9,000, whatever it might be, each one of those appliances is going to support 96 drives. And so when we look at the max drives of 384, that's a 4-node cluster. So it's 4 times 96. Just wanted to point that out because it's not spelled out amazing on the slide. So I just
great. Thanks for that clarification there. So with that's all I have from a presentation standpoint here. I think next Brandon is going to show us a demo of a PowerStore, and let's kind of dive into it and see what it looks like. Again, I don't think we have any questions in the chat here, so we'll just move on here. I'll stop my sharing and let Brandon take over.
Okay, thank you. So I'm very excited about our user interface as well. Our UI team, I think, has done an amazing job. I've been in the IT industry for, I hate to say it, but 30 plus years now. And this is one of the easiest interfaces that I've actually seen for a long time. The things that I really like about it is when we start looking at what's important, is from a manageability perspective. Immediately when you log into the screen, it's not Java based. I get that question quite a bit. So it's HTML5 based. The thing that I love about it is this idea of this watch list. What this allows us to do is actually bring to your attention as soon as you log in the volumes, file systems that you might be concerned with. So if you have, what we talk about a lot is high value workloads or your critical applications that keep your business running, then we can monitor those from the capacity and IOPS bandwidth and latency perspective. We don't just do it at the volume level or the file system. We're very tightly integrated with VMware. So if you have things like vVols, then we can actually monitor the virtual machines as well from a performance perspective. So we don't have to go to multiple tools to actually get what we're trying to do. And so this brings it all kind of front and center. The other part of it that I really like is you don't have to go hunting for alerts. You can actually, they're just pulled up. You can see that, we have a major alert, a minor alert, and it just says, hey, your onboard management ports are connected to the same Ethernet switch. That's not a best practice, right? We want to have redundancy throughout all of it. It's not critical, but we want to notice it. The other thing that's really nice is when we look at, we have a major alert, it says, hey, this appliance is set to run out of space. So I click on it, and what it does is it brings up the alert. It shows the number of associated events. We've got 10 of them. It allows me to acknowledge it so that it will go away from my purview. But the thing that I really like about this is in the fact that it says the repair flow. What can I do? I can either do an assisted migration, so I can move volumes and the associated snapshots to another appliance if I have it, or if I only have one appliance, then, hey, you need to add some more drives, and it'll give us that piece of it. And so from here, also from a service and supportability, it allows us to gather the support materials, open up a ticket with Dell EMC automatically, So that's the nice thing. So when I click acknowledge, like, yep, I got you, then what will happen is when I close it, that alert goes away, right? So I didn't actually take any action, but you know, that's the piece of it. So it's very much in front. When we look at kind of the tabs, right, we have an overview. It shows that we have 2 appliances set up. We're watching 11 things, so volumes and file systems and virtual machines. It also shows the amount of block volumes and file volumes that I have. So it's a unified solution. You can either do block and file, or you can do block. You could do file only, but it's not, I wouldn't say that this is a replacement for our NAS solution. This is just, if you have some file systems that, you know, probably under 15, 20 terabytes, this would be a good solution. Something over that, our Isilon product would fit well. You know, when we look at it from a capacity perspective, this is now looking at it not at the storage perspective. This is looking at it from a cluster perspective. So we have 2 appliances that makes up our cluster right now, and this is the total capacity across our cluster. The other thing is when we guarantee 4-to-1, the other part of that future-proof program, when we say we're going to guarantee 4-to-1 storage efficiency, you can see our overall efficiency is 5.9 on this solution. And the reason that we can guarantee that is because of what we talked about, that always-on inline deduplication process. We don't actually have to have you fill out any workloads, or we don't exclude workloads. We're just saying that you're going to get 4-to-1 guaranteed. If not, Dell Technologies will make it right, whether it's additional capacity or nodes or whatever it might be from that perspective. The other side of it is then, you know, we look at the performance piece of it. And so we can look at it from, you know, the last hour, 24 hours, the last month, last 2 years. We can also look at it from, you know, a summary view. We can look at bandwidth, IOPS, latency. You know, so if you want to dive into one thing, by default, we're going to look at all of them. Okay. And, you know, from that perspective, we can also download it in multiple different ways so that you can have, you know, some historical views of what that looks like. We can also kind of just hover over it and it'll show you time frames and from that perspective.
Hey Brandon, for this these statistics here, is this something that's living on the array, or is this a separate appliance that the customer needs to deploy?
No, it's living on the array.
Okay, great.
It's part of that. When we talk about the containerized architecture, it's just a microservice running on the storage array. Okay, so when you know you have there's no additional appliances, or you know, I think with some of our other products, like we, you know, when you look at like our PowerMax, we have a separate Unisphere control, like management. This is all on the array itself. So when we look at it from a compute perspective, then this is where, you know, we can set up a virtual center connection. So from this little tab here, I can either launch CloudIQ or vSphere. So I don't have to go to a bunch of different places to actually manage my environment. Most organizations are heavily virtualized these days. I think that's a pretty standard thing. But when we look at it from here, we just set up a virtual center server connection. And now what I can do then is, based off of my vVols, I can actually look and monitor all of those virtual machines that are running. So if I wanted to say, it's already added to the watch list, but if I wanted to add it, then I can just click on the different components or the different virtual machines and like, hey, Prado 3, I want to actually add it to the watch list. So now when I click on the dashboard, it now ProdServe 003 will be part of our watch list. The other nice thing, and this is where this differs from a lot of solutions, when you start thinking about protection policies. So this is snapshots and replication. I don't do it just at a LUN or a volume level. I can actually assign a protection policy down to my vVols, down to a specific virtual machine. If I want to assign a protection policy, this is not the greatest view of this. My screen's a little messed up, but you can see that there's like snapshot rules, replication rules, then I can see the number of volumes that it's applied to. But when I look at it, if I just hover over it, this is the other thing that I like, is in the fact that if I just hover, it'll show me what this snapshot rule is. It's going to take a snapshot every 12 hours. It's going to retain them 3 days, and it's going to happen during the work week, Monday through Friday. Then if we look at the other one, again, it's going to take a snapshot every day. It's going to keep it for 7 days, and it's going to run every single day. When I look at like my replication rule, it will show me that my RTO is 24 hours. Or I'm sorry, RPO, not RTO, sorry. RPO's recovery point objective is every 24 hours. So what's going to happen is if it doesn't meet the replication threshold, so if it doesn't replicate all the data in 12 hours, it's going to give me an alert. And then it's going to show me what remote system I have as well. And I can then, come in and look at, what volumes it's applied to and things like that. So we'll get into this a little bit more. But I can do this, again, at the VM. I can look at it from my volumes, volume groups, file system, NAS servers. I can apply this type of protection policy across any workload in my environment. Now I'm kind of going fast. Is there anyone that has any questions so far? I just want to kind of pause. I didn't see anything in the chat yet, but just wanted to pause real quick. Okay. So from here, then, when we look at, adding volumes and groups, storage containers, like if I want to add a volume, it's a very simple process. I just click create. It gives me some options. And I can assign a name. I can specify the quantity, the size in meg, gig, or terabytes. This is where it's a little bit different. So if we say, okay, we have a cluster, we have 2 appliances. I can either let the machine learning algorithm apply the placement for me, or if I want to pin it to a specific appliance, I can do that. And I can select either 1 or 2 appliances. I'll just select the first appliance. Then I can say, do I want to assign it to a volume group or not? You don't have to, but you know what? We can. We're going to assign it to that one. And then it pulls up that, hey, if you assign it to this volume group, it's going to be write order consistent because that's a requirement. And then we're also going to apply the protection policy of protect policy 2, and we're going to put it on appliance 1. And there's 2 members in this group. So we'll select that. The other part of this is then we actually have QoS. So this is about latency. Okay, so we talk about high latency or low latency type of environments. You would select based off of what type of guarantee you want. By default, every volume you create is going to be assigned the medium policy. Okay, so we can click next. Then it will ask us which hosts we want, what LUN number. So if you want to assign a specific LUN number, you can, or it can automatically generate for you. So at this point, I don't have to necessarily assign it to a host. I can just create a volume. And so that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to create the volume. And at that point, once I create it, then you'll see it come in. It's creating the volume now. It'll just take a minute or 2 to do that. And then we can kind of move along our day. One of the things that I like to say in here is if you think about creating a volume for a system, and then you talk about snapshots and replication if you're going to do that, I would always go create or validate my protection policies before I would create a volume, and then before I would map it to someplace. Because it's just a better way. Is like you start doing your mapping first, then you have to come back into the volume and then recreate everything. It's just an easier way to actually do the protection policies first. And let's say, day one, you just have one PowerStore, and then you add a second one to a remote site or your DR site. Then we would just come into the remote systems, and if you have a new system, you just click add, and it's going to ask for the management IP address and then the network latency. So, if you look at it, if your network to the remote system has an expected latency below 5 milliseconds, then choose low, otherwise choose high. So that gives us, if you have a good throughput and very low latency, then this gives us some opportunity to do that. And then on the system, we just want to add the username and password, and that's what it takes to set up a remote system. It's just that simple. And what you'll see then is when we click on it, you can see how that looks. Is there a question? No? Okay. So that's kind of like setting up the remote protection policy. Again, one of the amazing things that we're doing is, we talk about never migrate data again. This solution right here allows us under the migration to actually set up migration. So where we had that policy the alert, sorry, not policy, about appliance 1 is running out of capacity, I can do an internal migration, and it will show me right here like what's happening. So I've got a couple migrations happening from an EqualLogic, and we're doing a clone from one appliance to another. This is where this allows us to do that. Then when we look at it from kind of the hardware perspective, you can see that we have, two appliances. We have a 5,000 and a 3,000. If I want to look at one of these, like this has an alert on it, I can actually click on it, and it's going to take me to that appliance. Now I'm looking specifically at that appliance, okay? And then the capacity, the performance, the ports, the hardware, that all shows up based off of the appliance, okay? What this allows me to do is when I look at the hardware, so let's say that you have, kinds of a hand, like a lights out data center, you got smart hands, say at a colo or something, and let's assume one of the drive fails. What I can do is I can actually select it, and then I can blink the LED so that that person, you're like, hey, replace the drive with the blinking light on it. Don't touch anything else. The other thing that it allows us to do is look at the rear of the system. So I can see, which specific ports I can, if I click on it, it'll actually highlight which port it is. The other thing is I can also look at it from an internal view as well. So if we have node A, node B, you can, if you got a bad fan, you can highlight all of those components, and it will bring that to you. So with that, I know we got about 12 minutes left. I just want to do a quick demo. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to the Sanity team to wrap things up and close it down. So I'll stop sharing at that point.
Thanks very much, Brandon. Go ahead, just do a last call here. Is any other questions that we can answer before we close this out here? Okay. Don't see anything in the chat there. So again, thank you all for joining us today, and thank Brandon for the demo and the assistance here. We'd love to set up any demos and to deeper dive. So a question from Jason, our president. So where can our customers see a PowerStore? So we actually have a PowerStore in our lab. So what we'd love to do, if you guys have specific workloads or projects, I'd love to set up a one-on-one with you guys and dive into more detail specific to your workload or the function of your business. Let us really dive into what PowerStore is. and we'll use our lab to kind of really bring it home for you. So please feel free to reach out to your specific AE if you have one. If you do not, please just contact us at info@sanitysolutions.com. So with that, again, thank you all for your time today. I hope everybody has a good day. And this is recorded, so if you would like a copy of the recording for colleagues or whatnot, we can facilitate that too. So again, reach out to your AE or info@sanitysolutions.com. So thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon. Have a good one.
You too. Take care. See everyone.